as we are focusing women in their 30s, I think, period is a huge chunk of 30s, right? And usually we try to arrange our life according to our period, around our period. And some people are very lucky, they don't have as many symptoms as the other ones, but some people, they have big difficulties, like they are suffering a lot. So what would you recommend them to start with?
The first thing I would say is that someone like me who had just the worst symptoms you can have, it turned out that that was a God shot, because it forced me to get in alignment with my period. And that makes me more effective, more impactful. I do not waste time anymore in the way that I used to. More confident, more successful, because I have no way to go. The toothpaste cannot go back in the tube. I can't go back there. And what I'm trading for the pain that I was in is easeful impact. And so people who are in a lot of pain, they have the biggest hoop to jump through, because they know, first of all, they have this impediment called learned helplessness. And so this is definitely part of answering that question. Learned helplessness is the phenomenon, and it was coined by Marty Seligman at UPenn in the 60s. It's the phenomenon where when you are told there is nothing you can do to help yourself, or when you've had a traumatic event happen over and over again, and you're constantly told there's nothing you can do, so give up and figure out how to make comfort in your suffering, then it is very hard to change. It is very hard to accept that something could change. And so those people like me are facing learned helplessness, and that will be their biggest obstacle. And that's why, again, I work with a community, because we can each one teach one, and we don't have the chance to be uniquely suffering. And so I would say the first thing that they can do is acknowledge that you have learned helplessness. And the reason I know you have it, anybody who's hearing this and is suffering and has been to the doctor and has tried 6 doctors to get this diagnosis, and then did this birth control, and then had this surgery, and lost this relationship, and lost that job, all for the period. I know that you have it because every doctor you've gone to has said, there isn't a cure, but we can try this. There's nothing we can do, but if this gets worse, then we're going to have to do a hysterectomy. That kind of stuff of like, there's nothing we can do, but that is so dangerous. And it's really difficult, because our doctors are there to help us. They are giving the best that they can. The problem is that the medical approach to solving a problem that's non-medical, it's not going to happen. I do not bring an electrician to fix my pool. But we understand that since the problems are manifesting in our body, because the problems do not come from our body, it is what we're feeding it emotionally, intuitively, and mentally. So if we don't treat these 3 bodies that are in the ether, that are not existent, we can't see them. The medicine, just like a mechanic, they're going to go to what the problem is and fix that one problem, not realizing that it's whack-a-mole when you don't fix the symptoms. It's not the car that's broken, it's the driver. And so the first thing that they can do is recognize that they have learned helplessness, recognize that doctors do want to help, but as long as we are intervening only the physical with the physical, the problems are going to keep coming. And here's the easiest one. Slow down. Simple, but not easy. Especially in your 30s, because that is the proving ground. That is the time when you are trying to cement your career trajectory. So you want to be above and beyond. You do not think to go fast, it would be to go slow to go fast. But I offer the tortoise and the hare story. I offer the very clear effect of a slingshot. When we go backwards and we let ourselves fly into the future, or fly into with easeful impact, we accomplish more and we are better in the workplace. And so that is what happens, is you have to take this massive risk. Oh my gosh, I'm going to trade my pain, my career. I'm going to trade what little I have as I'm trying to hold everything together with all I've got. I'm going to trade that to be comfortable, rested, and to offer solutions that are coming out of me, but I don't know why it's so easy and it's freaking me out and it's not happening the way that everybody said it's supposed to happen and the way that I was raised, and it's not happening with effort. You have to trade that. That's really hard. But that is what I would say to do.
Yeah. I think this also goes for people who don't have some physical pain, but are going through some emotional phases, right? Like, and the thing is, I think there is also some name calling going on during this time. Not only from men, but I think from maybe sometimes from woman to woman, and sometimes it starts from ourselves. We say, oh, I feel so like crazy, I feel like all these like name callings. Yeah. So, and I think we should maybe start by renaming those phases, right? Renaming those emotions and also understanding those emotions.
Well, I do appreciate semantics. I think they're very important. So I think that renaming is important as long as it is renaming in a way that resonates below the neck. I think that we spend too much time. I mean, the menstrual phases are called luteal, follicular, ovulatory, menstrual. That means nothing to us.
Nothing to us, yeah.
You know, I use embodied names: soldier phase, peacemaker, queen, priestess, to hint people at where they're kind of operating in each phase, you know?
And can you a little bit describe those phases for us, like very briefly? Yeah, so that people can start understanding your way of thinking and the method, like.
Yes, and everything I do, I'm gonna take my scarf off now. It's so cold where I live, but like talking about this just makes me just, woo! I love it. So what I'm really into is going with the flow of things, going with what's obvious. I'm really into ease. I always have been, to a fault, where my parents were like, you're going to amount to nothing because you're always trying to find the easiest way. But I love it. Yeah. And so that's where these embodied names came from. And so I'll go in order of the phases as they are actually existing, not medically. Medically, your day one is when you start your shedding. But like, tell me what rock concert you went to where you showed up as they were loading out the materials and cleaning up, and like the trash trucks were like going out. Like that is an ending, you know? And so that's where my thought process already starts. It's like, look at how obvious our body is.
Yes.
No, that's definitely not the first phase. That's the last one. So the first one is soldier phase. And in soldier phase, it starts a few days after our menstrual shedding ends, like 1 or 2 days after our shedding ends. And where the previous phase, the menstrual phase, which I call priestess, where you were flat on your back, you weren't eating a lot of food, you weren't conversing with a lot of people, you were really in your world because there was inner restoration happening, necessary. The same effect of a person born with without a uterus sleeping at night and restoring fully. We don't restore like that each night. We need this time. Our body shuts down and we have low energy for a reason. It expects that of us. So that rest, like the slingshot, the more we rested, the farther we're gonna fly. And we have testosterone pumping in us. We are really excited to be out of the cave. You know, where like you come back from a vacation where you actually rested, you're like excited to get back to work. You have so many ideas. And just like a soldier, I say soldier ninja, because you are serving this like higher purpose, which is like all the ideas that priestess kind of downloaded for you. And so you're in soldier phase. That's the time to start ideas. That's the time to start new habits. That's the time to start learning something new, to start a new job, to start project planning. you know, and I go through it for the business world and for solopreneurs. I have different programs where we go through. These are all the things that you should do in soldier phase, but I'm going to keep it kind of as general as I can because we're dealing with being 30 in our 30s, not necessarily our 30s and a nurse, you know, so I'm not going to push too hard in one way, talking about jobs only, but in all 8 facets, they're all affected by each phase that we're in. And even how we eat in soldier phase, we are eating a lot more food because we have come out of hibernation. We fed off of what we had stored up during queen phase, but now we need to start eating again because we've got so much energy and we want to feed the fire because we are moving on the fastest that we're going to move in the entire cycle. This is the phase that most people think is what they're in all the time. And interestingly enough, this phase is probably the shortest of all of them. You're there for like 4 or 5 days. You're not there very long. The next one is peacemaker phase. And in peacemaker, when I show the images of these phases, she's like this hippie, like pregnant woman wearing all white. And that's because pregnant women are the one group that our society allows to take full license and control of their lives without asking for permission, because we are stewarding this life. We're living our purpose. You know, it's so awful how we're not allowed to do that all the time. And we're not allowed to do that unless we're pregnant. But I tell people, when you're in doubt about whether or not to assert yourself in a certain situation, imagine that you're either pregnant, because pregnant women are allowed to, or that you are a cis white male. And it's not because I hate cis white males. There are many in my life. It's actually because they have a sense of entitlement that they have no idea they have. And that sense of entitlement actually does make it very easy to give them what they want, because it's just what is done. And so when you come in and you're really embodying that energy, you too will experience the benefits of that. And so peacemaker phase is the time when you are finessing all of the things that Soldier Ninja started. Peacemaker is finessing these directives and saying, yes, I know last week I said that these are the boundaries I'm setting and this is how it's going to be. But let me explain to you how that's a huge benefit for both of us. Let me explain all the ways that me asserting myself and thriving in the world is going to benefit you in all 8 facets of the wheel of life. And so that's happening, and that's happening in all spheres as well. Home, work, spiritual, all of them. And service, of course. And then the next phase is queen phase. And queen phase lasts the longest. That's the luteal phase. And in queen phase, I like this name queen because, first of all, the queen is in the castle. So where Soldier was out in the fields with the people and peacemaker is handling the people, a little bit more elevated, but handling still with the people, queen is behind a gate in the castle, making the real decisions, off with your head, or tell me why you should live. And queen is debating these big questions about her kingdom, about how, you know, all of these. This is the time that we know as when PMS shows up. And the reason PMS shows up, I did an interview 2 days ago, and the guy said, here's some trivia for you. Researchers have found that PMS actually may be a means of survival that kept people from eating poisonous vegetables, because the senses were more activated and the woman could be more discriminating. And so that's why PMS was a good thing. But I actually, and this is from experience and the experience of my clients, what I see is that PMS is an effect. It is just simply an effect of our awareness about our kingdom. Our awareness is just higher. We are more emotional. We are mentally very strong. Physically, our energy is wavering. And so we're more aware of, I can do this right now. I'm not going to do this. We're more just like taking care of ourselves instead of everybody else. And those awarenesses that come up are basic things like, I think I don't like my son riding in carpool with this group in the morning. you know, these niggling little things. And also, I think that I'm going to get a new job. Like these realizations, these things that are happening in all the other phases, but our ears are not open because every phase has an agenda. They have a certain, if a firefighter walks into a movie theater, they're going to see a certain thing. If a ballerina walks into a dance theater, they're going to think about something else. If a lighting designer walks into a theater, they're going to see. They have different agendas.
Yeah.
Our phases have different agendas. And so Queen is the agenda that is like, how do I thrive? How do I make my kingdom better? Or how do I fix my broken kingdom? And those realizations are so unable to be pushed under the water like they were in the other two phases, that when we have, if we've been pushing them and not addressing them each time Queen phase comes around, then we have explosions because we resent the fact that we're aware of this stuff and we haven't done anything about it. And we blame you when actually it's us not asserting ourselves. And when we do, oh my gosh, we don't have PMS because we're just solving our problems. So that's Queen phase. And then the last phase is Priestess phase. Go to the temple, doors are shut, not a lot of food, not a lot of interaction. And we're like, this is when the intuitive body, I work on the system of the whole being having 4 parts: intuitive body, mental body, physical body, emotional body. That intuitive body is on fleek and the physical body is out, so that you can really just download in a totally irrational way. You're suddenly like, oh, I know what the answer is. Oh, so all the things that Queen came up with that were problems in your world, Priestess says, this matters, this matters, this matters. This doesn't matter. It's going to be worked out. Like, and so you see all 4 phases work in concert on every part of your life when you lean into them.
Oh my God. Like I can really picture it like in my head. So, and I think once we understand those phases and their needs and their position in our world, and if we act accordingly, like their mission, then I think we will be more at ease with our life too. Yes, that makes total sense. And
life becomes so easy. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
And that's why the course exists, because the course just says, okay, I could tell you 400 facts and give you 400 lists of to-dos, but to-do lists are actually overwhelming for us when we're working with who we actually, like how we're wired. And so instead you just feed the information, and who you be and who you uniquely are meant to show up in the world as is going to sort it in a way that serves you and your life's mission in a way that I could never tell you.